You know, our digital world, it's like a fortress, but it's under constant assault. Every single connection you make is a potential way in for an attacker. So the real question isn't if an attack is going to happen, it's when.
Greetings. I am your AI security guide. And today, we're going to look beyond the usual firewalls deep into a really critical part of cyber defense, something called penetration testing. So let's get started.
Think about it. Our digital world is basically a battlefield now. You've got these malicious actors, and they're always getting smarter, always evolving. They're targeting everything, from your phone to, the huge systems that run a country. Cyber attacks, they're not just a maybe anymore. They're a certainty, and they're getting more frequent and way more sophisticated every single day.
So you can't just build these digital walls and cross your fingers hoping they'll hold up. That's just not going to cut it anymore. Real security isn't something you just set and forget. It has to be active, always on. If you're not actively testing your own defenses, you're really just guessing that you're safe. And let me tell you, in this world, a guess is just an open door for an attacker.
So the big question is, how do you actually fight back against all this? Well, it's simple, really. You have to start thinking like the attacker. You basically copy their methods to find your own weak spots before they do. And that, right there, is the whole idea behind penetration testing. It's a cyber attack, yes, but it's one that's controlled, completely authorized, and totally legal, all aimed at your own systems.
Now, you might be wondering who's actually doing these attacks. Well, they're not the bad guys, not at all. These are incredibly skilled security pros we call penetration testers, or you might have heard the term ethical hackers. Their whole job is to find a way to break in so that you can figure out how to keep the real attackers out.
Okay, let's make sure we're really clear on the difference here. On one side, you've got your black hat hacker. These are the people with malicious intent. They're out to steal, cause chaos, you name it. But on the other side, you have the white hat hacker. These are the ethical pros. They have permission to be there, their goal is purely defensive, and whenever they find a security hole, they report it so it can get plugged. You can almost think of them as the digital immune system for a company. At the end of the day, the goal here is all about making things stronger, fortification. These ethical hackers, they're not trying to break stuff for fun. Their mission is to find those vulnerabilities before a real attacker does, figure out just how much risk those flaws pose to the business, and then hand over all the data needed to make the security defenses way, way better. And don't think for a second this is just some random, chaotic hacking spree. No way. A professional penetration test, or pen test, is a really structured process. It's broken down into several very clear phases.
It all kicks off with Phase 1, reconnaissance. This is where the tester just gathers as much information as they can about the target, pretty much exactly like a real attacker would. Then they move into scanning, using all sorts of tools to poke around and find potential weak spots. After that comes the exciting part, exploitation. This is the moment they actually try to breach the system, and if they get in, that leads to post-exploitation, where they see just how deep they can go inside the network. But, the most important phase might just be the last one, reporting. This is where the ethical hacker lays it all out, a detailed map of all the vulnerabilities they found and, crucially, exactly how to fix them.
So here's a really interesting question. How much does the tester actually know before they start? Right? Because that changes everything. Does the company want to simulate an attack from a total stranger in the internet, or maybe from a disgruntled employee who already has some access? This choice is what leads us to three main ways of doing these tests.
And this table here lays it out perfectly. First, you have the black box test. This is where the tester knows absolutely nothing. They're coming in blind, just like a real external hacker would. Then you have the complete opposite, the white box test. Here, they're given everything, source code, network maps, the whole shebang. This is for doing a super deep, thorough audit. And right in the middle, you've got gray box testing. The tester gets a little bit of info, maybe a standard user account, to simulate what someone from inside the company could potentially do.
Okay, so we've talked about how it works, but let's get down to the so what. Why does this matter so much in the real world? Let's dive into the impact and why taking this proactive approach is, frankly, not even optional for businesses today.
Just think for a moment about the places you trust with your most private information. We're talking about banks, right? The ones protecting your money? Or hospitals, keeping your medical records safe. Even government agencies that hold all our civic data. And what about the big cloud platforms that basically run our digital lives? Every single one of them depends on penetration testing to make sure our trust in them is actually deserved and that our data stays secure. And you better believe this field isn't standing still. It's constantly evolving. I mean, the future is basically already here. We've got AI and automation that are making human testers even more powerful.
These incredibly intelligent systems can scan massive networks and spot complex problems way faster than any human ever could. This is what's shaping the next generation of cyber defense right now.
So let's just shift how we think about this for a second. Yeah, it's called a simulated attack, but its purpose is the total opposite. Penetration testing is all about being protective, being preventative. It doesn't actually break systems, it just shines a giant spotlight on the cracks so they can be fixed long before a real threat ever shows up. It's kind of like a fire drill for your digital fortress.
And all of this really leaves us with one last super important thought. In this constant battle for digital security, the absolute best defense is a proactive offense. So the question you really have to ask yourself isn't if your systems are going to be tested, but who's going to be testing them. Are you going to be the one to find the flaws first, or are you just going to wait for someone else to do it for you?